And this actually comes from our youth minister, James. I'll just go ahead and throw him under the bus there. He loves to push back and give some fun questions. Lately, on Sunday mornings, we're preaching through the gospel. Just all four merged, harmonized gospel story of Jesus. And we've just been through the crucifixion. We just got through the empty tomb. And one thing that kept coming up over and over again was that Jesus was not a victim. Right? He says, "I don't lay down. No one takes my life from me. I lay it down." Right? And as second person of the Trinity, I mean, he like he told Peter, "Don't you think I could call down legions of angels and stop this if I wanted to?" Right? And so the idea that Jesus is in control. So here's the question: if Jesus was in control, did he commit suicide then, like suicide by cop? Kind of a suicide, like, you just stop treading water in the ocean, allow yourself to drown kind of suicide. So let's, I'll see what you guys have to say, and then I can correct anything if you get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a criticism that I occasionally hear from atheists, in that Jesus was essentially committing suicide on the cross if all of this was kind of preordained. And I guess the way that I would respond to a charge like this is just to say that there's a difference between suicide and sacrifice. And what Jesus was doing was a sacrifice. It wasn't a suicide. It wasn't, Jesus was severely depressed or just, unsatisfied with the way things were going and just wanted to end his life. But he had an actual purpose for going to the cross. It was because we are all sinners and none of us can save ourselves. And so Jesus had to take the punishment that we deserved on himself at the cross. And so just kind of in a nutshell, I would say that this was a sacrifice, not a suicide. And suicide is morally impermissible, but sacrifice is not only morally permissible, but it's morally heroic. It's something you do for the benefit of others. It's not it's not something that you do as a selfish act because you're unsatisfied with something.
Yeah, I would say that Jesus says there's no greater love than that one man lay down his life for the other. And there's definitely a difference in someone laying down their life for the other than taking their own life. So the analogy of, and I don't know if he said this or if you threw that in there, where you're swimming and so you just decide to quit paddling your feet so you drown. That's still an act of the will where you are choosing not to paddle your feet, knowing you will die. It's different than Jesus knowing that others will kill him for our sake. So there's definitions and vocabulary matters here. There's a difference in an altruistic act and a selfless act. And even the cross wasn't an altruistic act where he was concerned just for our good and this and that. He was concerned for our good, but it was much more than that. It was a selfless act of him giving himself up for our sake. But just on the definition of suicide where you take your own life, Jesus didn't take his own life. Laying your life down is not the same as taking your own life. Rome took his life. The Philistines and the Sadducees took his life. They were the ones yelling, "Crucify him." He went as a lamb to the cross, an innocent man. And so, I would say that a better comparison would be something like Maximilian Kolbe, who took Jewish people's place in the concentration camp to go into the gas chamber. He knew he was going to die, but he didn't do that himself. He laid down his life so someone else could live. And that's how we view Christ's act on the cross is, yes, he laid down his life because he is in control, and he laid it down fully as God and as man, 100% both, but he didn't kill himself. Other people killed him. He didn't nail himself to the cross. Roman centurions nailed himself to the cross. And so I would put it in that vein of no greater love. He laid down his life for our sake, but he didn't take his own life. Our sin took his life. Our fallen world took his life. That's why Paul says he was crucified from the foundations of the world.
Dave, you anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. I totally agree with what you guys already said. he chose to accept this demise, but he did not pull the trigger. Others pulled the trigger, and he knew it was going to happen. And the reason why that I believe that he went through it is because he knew the end result his blood would be a covering for us. And that would allow us to have communion with the Father. Without that, we would still be lost in having sacrifices. And he became the final sacrifice for us, the atonement.
Okay. Absolutely. Don't think anything more I can add to that. So, all right.
I would say a quick, popped into my head, a quick definition to help differentiate between the two would be self-murder versus self-sacrifice. Those aren't the same.
Right. And I think as Clinton touched on, the motivation for the different acts also, that this wasn't something he was just saying, where it was just about him going, I'm going to end my life just for the sake of ending my life.
Right.
That the act had what was for something else.